Okay, so, like, picture this. You're at an NHL game, right? The lights go down and the U.S. national anthem starts to play.
But there's booing coming from the crowd.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Not just like a couple of people either. This is like a lot of people. It's happening all over Canada, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's like the hockey rink is suddenly this arena for, like, political stuff, you know?
Totally. And that's what we're diving into today, this whole, like, clash of sports, politics, national pride, the whole thing.
I mean, it's definitely not something you see every day.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we've got some really interesting articles to look at today. One is a report from this TSN investigative reporter, Rick Westhead. And then there's this other article from Hockey Feed that's got all these reactions from players and coaches.
Sounds juicy.
Oh, it is. So basically, fans in Canada are booing the U.S. national anthem at these NHL games. It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah, for real.
And get this, it all happened over like one weekend?
No way.
Yeah, in Ottawa, Calgary, and Vancouver.
Huh. Vancouver, I feel like that's where, like, the biggest protest was, right?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely the most noticeable. It seems like it wasn't just a few random people who were upset. It was like a planned thing, you know?
Interesting. So it wasn't just like some rowdy fans letting off steam. This was organized.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And for it to happen a whole weekend, that's got to tell you something, right? It feels like there's a lot of frustration bubbling under the surface.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if we've ever seen anything like this before, like in other sports, you know, where fans use games to make political statements.
That's a good question. It definitely makes you think about, like, the history of sports and how it gets mixed up with politics.
Totally. Like, think about the Olympics in Nazi Germany back in 1936.
Oh, yeah.
Or even the boycotts of the Olympics in Moscow and LA during the Cold War.
Right. It's like these big sporting events become a way for people to express all these anxieties they have about what's going on in the world.
Exactly.
It makes you realize that a hockey game is never just a hockey game, is it?
Nope. Especially when things are kind of tense between countries.
And things between the U.S. and Canada aren't exactly peachy right now, are they? I mean, some of President Trump's economic policies haven't exactly helped smooth things over.
For sure. And I think that's where all these reactions from the players and coaches become really interesting. You know, they're trying to focus on the game, but then all this political stuff just explodes around them.
Yeah, it's like they're caught in the middle.
Yeah.
So the Detroit Red Wings, they were the opposing team in a couple of these games, which means they had a front row seat to all this.
Oh, yeah.
And Austin Matthews, you know, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, he totally avoided saying anything about it.
Wow. Really? So, like, no comment at all?
Nope, nothing.
Yeah.
You think that was the right move? I mean, he's a pretty big name in hockey. Could he have maybe used that to say something? You know, maybe try to calm things down a little.
Yeah. That's tough to say. It's a real balancing act, right? On the one hand, staying silent could be seen as a way to avoid making things worse. But then some people might say that a guy like Matthews, someone people look up to, could have maybe helped get people talking to each other, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe encourage some understanding.
Right. It's a tough one. But then you have Patrick Kane from the Red Wings, and he actually came out and said he understands where the Canadian fans are coming from.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
he took the opposite approach.
He did. It must have been tricky, though, right?
Yeah.
Trying to say the right thing without stepping on anyone's toes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It really shows you the weird spot these players are in. They're competitors on the ice, but they're also part of this bigger North American hockey community that goes beyond just being Canadian or American.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then there are the coaches trying to lead their teams through all this. It's got to be tough. Todd McClellan, the Red Wings, he's Canadian himself, but he basically acknowledged the political stuff was happening and then said he was keeping his own opinions to himself.
Smart move.
Maybe. He keeps the focus on the game, right?
Yeah, but it's a tough call for a leader. Speaking out might upset some fans, but staying silent might look like you don't care. It's like a lose-lose situation.
So he played it safe. Basically said, hey, we're here for the hockey.
Yeah, pretty much. And what about the NHL? How are they handling this whole thing? I bet they're freaking out a little.
Well, Rick Westhead's report said that the NHL's in a tricky position. They don't want to stop playing the U.S. national anthem before games. But they're thinking about telling teams to maybe not use young singers for the anthem anymore.
Really?
Yeah. It's like they're trying to find a way to calm things down without changing the whole pregame routine too much.
So, like, making sure kids don't get caught up in all the drama?
Seems like it. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Definitely.
It makes me wonder if other sports organizations are paying attention to this. I mean, are they thinking about what they would do if something like this happened in their sport?
Yeah, it's definitely a situation that could make other leagues rethink things. It makes you ask some big questions like, how do we protect free speech, but also make sure everyone feels respected and safe? How do we keep national pride from turning into something ugly?
Right.
And how do we make sure that sportsmanship still matters?
That's a lot to think about.
It is. It makes you wonder, is this just the beginning?
Yeah.
Are we going to see more of this kind of political stuff happening in sports? Or was this just a one-time thing because of the whole U.S.-Canada thing?
Right.
And what does it all mean for fans and players and the future of hockey? Lots to ponder.
Definitely a lot to ponder.
For sure.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but we'll be back soon with more. Thanks for listening.
See ya!